Good morning. This week's edition of What's Going On, we actually don't have a guest. And so I am going to take the opportunity to talk about um, how do you start a YouTube channel and how do we do market research and think about what needs to happen in order to run a YouTube channel. So if you are familiar with Outgrow Your Garage and or if you're new here, um, Outgrow Your Garage does business education. We work with communities to support small business ecosystems, and we do a lot of work around how do you think about a business. And one of the ways that we do that a lot is by testing out new ideas and trying new things that we're not comfortable with, that we don't know anything about in Outgrow Your Garage as a business. So when I started this YouTube channel in January, I don't really know anything about video. My specialty is education. My specialty is small business operations. And I don't know anything about video editing or how to start a YouTube channel or anything about what running a long-term YouTube channel is. So the idea of this channel was that I would bring on people I knew who do cool things in the business world or provide interesting resources or have different specialties so that we could learn more about what they were doing, share some resources, and do some cool stuff. Because of that, one of the things that's true is I didn't really do any research into what other channels like this might look like. I don't have a video person on staff, so we don't have an intro, we don't have an outro, we don't even have a clear like logo for this channel. I title everything in ways that make sense to me, but I haven't done any research into looking at who else is in the space. So I thought I would take this week's edition of What's Going On to talk a little bit about how to do that type of research, and just kind of do it live and see how that operates. One of the things that is my favorite part of running Outgrow Your Garage is that we don't know everything. As a business education company, that also means we are always learning. And I love hearing what people's questions are and how those things work so that I can provide better programming all the time. So today I'm gonna share my screen and find out. I'm gonna go to YouTube and find out what is gonna work for different, kind of see what's out there in terms of business education, YouTube channels. Things that I specifically want to look at are going to be um, who else is in this space? How do they title their videos? How long are videos typically? What are the names of their channels? What types of topics do they cover? So I'm not going to watch anything today, but I am going to kind of look at different pieces and talk through it as I go. So when I go so when I look at YouTube stuff, right, here is the YouTube homepage. And the way that, so we have our Outgrow Your Garage channel. So if I go to my Outgrow Your Garage channel, then great. One of the first things I want to know is like, how does that pop up? And so we have this weird ad at the top, which is interesting. And then it says that I'm live right now. And so I actually have, interestingly, a couple of ads that show up before my channel. Um, but otherwise, most of the stuff that shows up when I search my business name is me, which is helpful. So the next thing I want to know is great. Is there any sort of related channels or things that are similar to that? But YouTube doesn't do that. So cool, good to know. Like I said, YouTube is not a huge thing. So um, the next thing I want to know is, okay, so the things that Outgrow Your Garage really wants to do well is work with small business owners and small business education. And we work a lot in rural communities, and a lot of the work that I do is in rural economic development. And so the first thing I want to know is anybody else really doing a lot of channels about rural economics? And if so, what are those channels doing? So we're going to start with rural economics and see what that brings up. Um, and so we have stuff from the Illinois Extension Community Office of Economic Development. We have Iowa Press. There's TED Talk from 10 years ago. Um, Bernie Sanders from 7 years ago. So I'm not seeing a ton of things that are fairly recent under rural economy, right? This one is from 7 months ago. There's a bunch of shorts. And so I want to know, let's try filters, um, upload date. Let's see what's happened in the last year. So our upload date is last year. And so we're still seeing a lot of these sponsored things. I don't know if those go away if you have YouTube Premium, but cool. So we have this sinking future of a rural economy. This is about Myanmar. So Outgrow Your Garage is a US-based company, so I'm a little less concerned about what's happening internationally in terms of comparable YouTube channels to the thing that I'm doing, because I'm not expecting people who live and run businesses in other countries to have a lot of questions about small businesses in the United States. Maybe I'm totally wrong about that, but that's where we're starting. Um, Country Music Chronicles is a thing. This looks like a local radio, local news station. Let's see where they are. Um, Bismarck, North Dakota. Yeah, so this is from North Dakota, and this is a local news. So that has some interesting stuff, and they title their things by topic. So ND Today is presumably a segment that they do. They have news at 10. They have different bits of their local news. So one person who's looking at rural economics is that we have the College Explorer, which is presumably about specific majors. So this one, our channel is dedicated to providing in-depth information about colleges and universities, helping students make informed decisions about their academic journeys. So this one is really about what do you want to study in college, which is also not that similar to me. This video is 3 minutes long, talking about rural economics. This one, AgriPulse Communications. That's an interesting piece. So this one is specifically rural farm and rural policy information. They have offices in Washington, D.C. and Sacramento and also Missouri. And so they're looking specifically at farm information. And so farms are a huge part of rural economics. And so this could be something that is sort of similar to the type of work that we do. So they have a webinar, they have newsmakers, their stuff seems to be, let's see what we have in videos. They're a range between 25 minutes. So they're kind of in that same time frame. I try to keep these videos to about half an hour. And it looks like AgriPulse is pretty similar in that regard. They have this little clip that is 5 minutes. And then they have a couple of longer webinars up there, but most of their AgriPulse newsmakers are in the same kind of 25, 26, 27 minute long. The other thing that I'm curious about is they title things similar to how I do, where I call everything what's going on with, and talk about whatever the topic is after that. And so they title theirs by the date and then the information. So one of the things that I have been curious about when I think about Outgrow Your Garage and how those things operate, and how to title YouTube channels, or YouTube videos is when I'm doing a similar thing over and over and over again, right? Does it get hard to navigate if I title everything what's going on with, and then you have to get to whatever the actual title of the video is? In this case, they have the title and also the date before you get to that. But I can still sort of see generally what is happening in any given video. Part of how they're doing that is they have information about what the video is in their thumbnail, which I'm not fancy enough for that yet. And it's something that Outgrow Your Garage is working towards to be able to build those in advance, and some of that depends on my time because I am Outgrow Your Garage is mostly me plus another workshop facilitator and uh, my executive assistant, and so we're not quite at the point where I'm doing a lot of that work, or we know how to do that yet in the Outgrow Your Garage learning. So yeah, so this is a pretty good sample of something that is potentially similar to me. They're about the same length. They are titling things in the same way. They're getting a lot more views than I do, some of them. So these little short ones are getting thousands of views. The webinars are getting much fewer views. So this AgriPulse webinar about the global demand for soy, that's an hour, has 50 views versus Smart Solutions for Global Food is 10,000 views. Farm Aid is 30,000 views. Um, and so I kind of want to see what their bigger topics are. But yeah, some of these are only getting 35 views. Some of them are getting 15,000 views. So this is helpful information. Back to their homepage. How many? See if I can find how many subscribers they have. More. 914 subscribers. So they have 914 subscribers, and they're getting tens of thousands of views on several of their videos. And so that is a good kind of helpful piece of information for me about what that ratio of subscribers to views are. Uh, all right, so let's see what else we have in this space. We'll go back to rural economics. This is also, that's about China. This is Canadian, Alberta's rural health. This economics and leadership tutorial. I wonder where that's from. Let's see what that gives us. Um, YouTube channel about education, leadership, economics, motivation. This says it's based in the US. So we will kind of look through this. This is a little bit more consulting style. And so my guess based on this content is that this person is really looking at how do I present that I am skilled in leadership with the goal that people will then hire me for consulting. And so that is my suspicion. We're going to dig through this YouTube channel and see if that's true, which means for the purposes of market validation and Outgrow Your Garage comparison, this is going to be similar, but it's not going to be the same type of audience that I'm looking for with this YouTube channel, because my goal is that um, the videos that Outgrow Your Garage puts out are things that local community members can use to support ideas that are happening in their area. And maybe it'll lead to new clients for Outgrow Your Garage, and maybe it won't. Um, but the specific goal is not to get people to hire Outgrow Your Garage as a part of the marketing strategy for YouTube. It's more just to bring awareness about things that are going on with small businesses and economics. So we're going to check this out. The other thing that's true about this YouTube channel is this person, Cassie Arab. I don't know. I don't know what language that's from, so I have no idea how to pronounce that. But their handle is still the generic YouTube handle. So it has the numbers at the end. So it's set up a little bit different than Outgrow Your Garage, where we specifically changed it so that our handle is at Outgrow Your Garage for ease of promoting the channel. And then what else is interesting in that? So let's see what types of videos are happening. So we have high school economics, which is interesting. And so they have mostly really interesting pieces about general economics, macroeconomics, why it matters. He has these shorts, and so those are all pretty low views. One of the things that I always want to be paying attention to is how many views different types of content has. So shorts, not something people are looking at here, but also these are generally not having a ton of videos, where these these economics videos in general about a broad scale are having a lot of views, but the more recent ones are more in that 46, 24. Um, I don't know what a green economy battle is. So this looks like maybe he's going into a different direction. But a lot of these are a little shorter on that front. So let's see what else we got. Bloomberg is pretty big source of information and media about financial news and different pieces. They have um, a little over 3 million subscribers, which is very different than where we're at. But this could be a potential source of information that somebody who's looking at the Outgrow Your Garage channel is also looking at. Their handle is straight up at markets as opposed to um, at Bloomberg TV. And so they're really looking at capturing somebody who's looking for market research, I guess. And they have a lot of videos, they have a lot of views. And so let's see what topics are kind of hitting. So they have Bloomberg this weekend, Bloomberg surveillance. I don't know what a Bloomberg surveillance is, but these are all 2.5 hours long. So they're pretty long. They have some live pieces on that. And some of these are pretty short. So this one an hour ago. So this Bloomberg surveillance one that went up an hour ago already has 750 views. But these are pretty long. So these are all an hour and a half. And so these are much longer than what Outgrow Your Garage goes. And then sometimes they have these specific channels of stock market news analysis. Their shorts get more views, but again, we're looking at 1.7 thousand views versus, I guess they're kind of the same. So this has just under 6,000 views, and it's a little under 24 hours old. This is 13,000 views, and it's a day old. Their shorts are, I don't have a date on those, which is interesting. And then it's broken down by topic. Cool. All right, so that gives us some information about rural economics. Let's try small business. Small business education. All right, so, SBA. So this is a thing that I direct people to the SBA all the time, and I didn't realize they had a YouTube channel, in part because I've never done this research before, and I probably should have. So really looking at what are the types of videos the SBA is putting out, and one of the questions I'll have is, are some of these videos things that I should be sharing out as resources for other people who are looking for small business resources? So this could be really cool. And so these are really short. Some of these are less than a minute. They have 500 views, 91 views, 306 views. Here's some profiles on veteran-owned businesses. Here's some information from National Small Business Week. So these are all really short. These little 3-minute, 1.5-minute videos. So the SBA videos are pretty short. Let's look at overall videos. So yeah, this kind of time frame, 1 minute. These are all a minute, 4.5 minutes, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1.5 minutes. So yes, these are pretty short. So these are more like shorts in general. They also don't get a ton of views in general. So a high video here is going to be 1.2 thousand views, which is much less than something like Bloomberg got. But would be a stellar amount of views for Outgrow Your Garage. I'm going to hit subscribe on this because it's a good thing for me to see what's what, and good for Outgrow Your Garage to give that a follow. And small business education. Goldman Sachs is probably going to be pretty similar to the Bloomberg stuff. Let's see what we got. Let's do the same thing with this and kind of see what we have in things that have happened this year. Because again, one of the interesting things about kind of YouTube channels is going to be that you want to see what's going on right now. I'm not really interested in what's going on in small business education 7 years ago, partly because the actual small business world was very, very different in 2019 than it is today in 2026. But also I want to know what's happening now. And I'm not going to know what's happening now if I'm looking at something old. So this is from 2 months ago. Small business owners are struggling and here why. So my follow-up question is this a video that is just focused on small business owners in general, or is this somebody who is focused on small businesses in general? And so this is dealerships can't sell cars, people can't afford to buy groceries. Okay, so this person is very clearly trying to aim for, here is a little bit clickbaity. Hey, look, here's this thing that's terrible. You should interact with this because I'm going to tell you a bunch of bad news and it's a little bit sensational. That's not the vibe that Outgrow Your Garage is aiming for. So I'm not super interested in this because we're not going to have a ton of overlap and he doesn't have the same focus as I do, where I'm pretty focused on education and he's pretty focused on clicks more than anything else. And so there's going to be this slant of a specific viewpoint of how can we talk about this thing that is rough in a way that's very different from the educational aspect of how Outgrow Your Garage operates. All right, this one's talking about small towns and small business ideas in towns. Let's see what this one says. I help people get in-demand, high-paying jobs without the need for a college degree or previous experience. Yeah, so this one, kind of like that other one we looked at, is really focused on, hey, we have these trainings for sales and IT and different career options. The ultimate goal here is going to be, hey, follow me on all these social medias. And then if you have this free 6-step guide, that is going to be really focused on how do you get into this one-to-one coaching, one-to-one coaching. And so this is a little bit of a sales tactic, right? So this is very focused on how do you get sales. This is pretty specifically focused on, there's some videos on getting more views on the YouTube. This could potentially be helpful research for me. This has that same kind of individual thumbnail and header that talks about what the key specific pieces are of that particular video. These have a trend in from software developer to salary, from construction worker to salary. This one talks about tech sales. And so really looking at what those different pieces are. The other thing that's true about this channel is they are pretty, all the videos kind of look the same, right? They have this text, they have the different pieces. It feels busy to me, but this person has a lot more subscribers and videos than I do. So again, like I'm not my own target demographic. And so let's see what we have in video specific things. These are in that 4.2 thousand, 7.7 thousand views. These are 12 minutes, 19 minutes, 18 minutes, 12 minutes, 20 minutes. So this is in that 15 to 20 minute chunk of time. So these are a little shorter than mine. Does he do any lives? So he's only done 2 lives. One of them is a 2.5 hours. One of them is 50 minutes. And these are both from 3 years ago. So that's not quite the same thing as what I am working on in those pieces. And then just to be clear, this is all research I'm doing live. So I don't have any idea about the actual quality of any of these things I'm clicking on. I have no idea. And so I may go back through later and actually watch some of these. So that is, so we've been talking for about 25 minutes here on that. And so in terms of starting a YouTube channel and when I'm thinking about how do I want to run this channel for Outgrow Your Garage, how do I want to think about what matters for the type of video and the type of thing that I'm putting into the world, and then also what does the landscape look like? How does it operate? Who's doing similar things to what I'm doing? That's something I always want to be doing. Market validation is something that you hear a lot about when you're in the early stages of running a business, but ultimately looking at what else is in the market you're working in is going to be a lifelong, business long adventure of who else is doing this? What are they doing? Should I be making different choices? How do I continue learning? And then, especially when you're launching new products or services. So, this YouTube channel is very new to me. This was the first chunk of research that I did in order to be able to see what else is out in that market. I just kind of started it and have been going from there. Um, so, I'm going to continue down this path over the next several months to see what I need to learn in order to have a better channel, in order to have one that's a little bit of a higher, has a higher view count, is able to get out into the world a little bit. Now that I have hit the point where I am thinking a little bit more around, okay, I figured out how to actually physically stream people. I have a system for inviting people onto the show. I'm starting to figure out how to handle weeks where I don't necessarily have a guest. And so once I've built that, routine in for me, now I can start thinking a little bit about how do I actually look at the rest of the landscape. So I hope this was helpful for some people. I know a lot of market validation type stuff really talks about how to do a lot of research in databases or collect notes or how to talk to people. But there's really this early stage that you can do in just 20 minutes of what are the keywords that somebody might search for when they're looking for my business, and then seeing what pops up. So ultimately the end goal for this channel is that a year from now, when I search small business education or rural economics or business education or any of these kinds of pieces, some Outgrow Your Garage videos will be popular enough to show up in that search. Obviously, we're not there yet, and I clicked only on the things that are at the very, very top of the algorithm. There might be more interesting things much lower down, but for the sake of this video and getting through things in a 20 to 30-minute time span, I kind of blew through pieces a little bit and gave you effectively stream of consciousness is the word that I'm looking for. Stream of consciousness about how to think about those videos. So I hope you enjoyed this. One day we will be fancy enough to have a little like and subscribe button on the screen that pops up at this point or in our outro. But if you enjoy learning about small businesses and economics and things that are going on in the business world or how to grow your business, then great, hit subscribe, tune into our channels, and see what else is going on. Enjoy the rest of y'all's day.